Okay, it's 7:01. Let's get this meeting started. This is the August 30th town work session. Roll call, please.
Weir?
Here.
Casanello?
Here.
Tater? Here. Larson?
Here.
Snyder?
Here.
Ramirez? Here. Morris?
Here.
And I see we got the Pledge of Allegiance on here. Let's do that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're at the agenda items. We're going to kind of do a little bit of a, if there are no objections, adjustment in the agenda. We'll have the introduction, then we'll go into closed session so that we can not delay Martin's time and get him out of here as quick as possible. And then we'll go back into the agenda, if that's okay with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Anything to save money, sir.
Chris will be happy.
Yep.
Martin, too, he'll get out of here early. Okay, so, yeah, first thing, I wanted to introduce, with the July Planning Commission meeting, we did a lot of new assignments. We also got a new member. I'd like to introduce them if you guys could come up to the podium. That way we can get your faces on the cameras. Okay, what we got attending right now, Alexander Bayen is not attending. He was elected as the new chair for the fiscal year of 2022. Up here we got Rob Hallett and Rob Chrisman. Rob Hallett, he was elected as the ARB a liaison. I know I was going to scramble something up.
And the vice chair as well.
And the vice chair for the Planning Commission. I'd like to thank you for stepping up and taking that on, Rob. And like I said, we got Bob Chrisman, who has been appointed by the town council on August 2nd to be the new chair. What I'd like to do is congratulate him. I got a letter here, and I'll read it out. Congratulations, your application for the Planning Commission was reviewed by the Town Council, and you have been appointed to be a sitting member of the term of August 2nd to June 30th. As the mayor of the town of Haymarket, I'd like to thank you for volunteering and accepting the civic responsibilities endowed to you as a sitting member. As a town citizen, I am sure your goal is to do what is best for the town. In some cases, there will be differences of opinions requiring courage and conviction to make your decision. I support you and will encourage you to stand tall, because conflicts like these create a dialogue necessary to make the best decisions, making our town better. At the end of the term, I hope you reflect on your time volunteering for the town of Haymarket and feel your contributions have made a difference, bettering our town. I believe they will have. Again, thank you for volunteering and contributing to our town's success.
Well, I can't see behind you.
You can move, you can shift to the left.
He's cut through.
3 paces to the left. 10 and
Thank you,
3.
Jen. Thank you, Robert.
Rob will
Thank
stand
you
ovation
both.
for you as well.
Long Street represent.
Woo! Yep.
Our left side, from your perspective.
Okay, now we'll move on to the closed session, if I can get...
Mr. Mayor, I would move the council convene in closed session to discuss the following. As permitted by Virginia Code subsection 2.23711A1, personnel matter involving assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the town, specifically dealing with the chief of police, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A3, involving a matter involving acquisition of real property for public purposes, wherein discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the town's bargaining position, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel or briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to probable litigation involving Haymarket property groups, and the pending case of Bean versus the town of Haymarket, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the town, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A8, consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel relating to zoning ordinances and the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go into closed session. Okay, let's bring this meeting back into open session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be disclosed in a closed session under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as cited in that motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Let's put it up for vote.
Weir.
Aye.
Casanello.
Aye.
Cater.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Okay, now let's move forward. I guess we've got the monthly finance report.
Good evening, council. Well, first of all, let me start. Is there any specific questions on the report, the current report that was given to you on the agenda?
Just a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
There are a couple other ones that you might want to label front-loaded. Like, isn't like general property and liability insurance and workers' comp, isn't that all kind of front-loaded?
Yes, that is.
So maybe
that is.
we can do that too?
I'll make that correction on the next one.
Cool, thank you.
No other questions?
Okay. Well, no other questions. Take the opportunity to inform you all, I believe our town manager shared with you all the draft version of the report from Megan Powers, who is actually the auditor that's working for Prince William County for the CARES Act funds. I'd like to report that there was things went well with that audit. There was no issues. In fact, every determination, every proof of that we did the right thing with the grants to all the rebates and stuff, vouchers, all came back positive. So it was straightforward. So like yes, yes, and we'll include that on the agenda packet.
It was in his email, Chris's email.
But we'll go ahead and include that. We'll wait until the official report, but that is the draft so it was a positive report, feedback from us. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Yep.
This is what came in the email earlier this week. Confidential.
Hey, Roberto, I mean, I might as well ask anyway, so how are we doing?
We're doing good. We're in the black. No, we're doing well. We're trending well. As y'all can see, one of the biggest changes is we've seen from last year to this year at the same time period. It's about a 23% increase on our meals tax. That's due mainly because we do have new businesses that have joined the town. Many Parandas and Ghosted Concepts, a few other ones. Also, too, the businesses have adapted. The curbside pickup, as you guys can see as well with the Chick-fil-A, they have been doing well. Another thing I could give you an update on as well is that we are in the middle of our audit. Nothing out of the ordinary as of right now, with the exception of the appropriations for the art funds. That is something that I'm talking to the accountant along with our auditor to make sure that we're doing it the proper way. We do have a report that we have to turn in by the 31st of October for any expenditures we do. I don't foresee us using that as of right now, but I may be wrong. Things could change. It's a month from now. And also, we did include that agreement for the VACO VML analysis. The only reason there's no, and make it very clear, the intention is not to get a answer from y'all as to what move forward with it. It's just more so you guys can see the agreement itself, kind of get an idea of what they presented back in 2016. Obviously, if you were to read the agreement, they are going to give us a little bit more information, more data this time around. That is why it's also going to be a little bit more costly. But just wanted to get that to your hands so you guys can take the time to review it, see it. I believe my interpretation from the last meeting is that we are going to move forward with the surplus funds to, start the project on the sidewalk, at least the design. I know Katie is working on that. Neither Chris or I have had any word back from her as to the two questions over the RDA for the completion of this project and for what it would take for the design and engineering on the sidewalk, but I know that's in the works. In fact, the town manager will have a meeting with her tomorrow, so maybe he can give you some updates on Tuesday on that. Oh, one thing. Thank you, Chris. Chris reminded me. One update I do want to give y'all is we did receive our first commission payment revenue of the DMV Select. That you will find on page 2 towards the bottom in the amount of $6,885.94. Just to put it in perspective, with that number, if we were to trend those numbers monthly, that would put us over the expected $60,000 that we have as a revenue. I think I will be giving a little brief summary on the cost. The cost of what the revenue versus the cost for this DMV Select, just to give you guys a better idea what it truly will cost to the town. Aside from that, I don't know if you have any other specific questions concerning any of those reports.
So that 6,000 is at 4%?
4.5.
Pardon me?
4.5.
4.5.
And
When does it change?
When we get to 500,000, and we've already achieved, we've surpassed 250,000 already within less than 2 months.
So we've passed 250,000 in 2 months. And right now we are at 4.5%, and that changes to 5% at 500,000.
And this, we're still waiting on the official record because we don't know how many dates this includes. Based on my record keeping, this may be not counting a day or two. So we're trying to wait. DMV sends the money first and then the documents later. So we're waiting for that document to identify if it's, like June 28th to July 28th, or if it's the full month of July, or what date is missing, if any. So, yeah, we're just waiting for that report to get the official information.
And you'll be able to tell us how many transactions at that point?
So I actually track all the transactions, so I can tell you exactly how many transactions were accomplished, if you guys would like. Okay.
I like that.
So, in the month of July, we did 1,150 transactions.
Okay.
So anybody listening, just to clarify, a transaction is dictated by DMV. So if someone were to change their address, check the box to register to vote, updating their address to register to vote, as well as get registration for their car, that all takes less than 5 minutes, but it would constitute 3 transactions. So I just want people to remember, that's not 1,150 people walking into the door. That is just 1,150 transactions that occur. So there is a difference we've had some questions about it in different meetings, business roundtable and such. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware it's not, 1,100 people walking in the door.
Is the total value of that again?
The total value, so and that's the whole thing, I don't have the full report from DMV, so that's where I,
Comes down to $6 a transaction if you base it on the notice, the numbers in the budget.
so my average is about $6.21 a transaction. for
I'm
this
getting
one.
5.98, but 5.99.
Okay, good.
One thing I would like to discuss too is also on page 6. So since I've been here in 2017, I think it's been traditionally that on Haymarket Day, there is, council does an ordinance to do a tax-free weekend, meals tax-free weekend for the event, because we do have vendors that do come in, food trucks that do come in, and they pay their fee, they sell their food. We also are in-town businesses, that do participate in it. It was a way to give them a break on the meals tax for that day, for that Saturday and Sunday. They do the weekend. So that's something that I placed in there. Hopefully, if you guys want to discuss it or make the vote on Monday or Tuesday, it is there for you guys to review.
Yeah, just quick edit.
Yes, sir.
Second whereas, second line, and our hopeful.
ARE.
Just, I think you have OUR, should be AR.
ARE.
Okay. We'll correct that.
We do this every year, so this is great. Good program.
Now, this is something we need to vote on next week, or can we do it? Okay,
Yeah, that'll be next week.
okay.
Now, this totally transfers through all the way to the purchaser, right? Vendors still aren't charging for this tax and then keeping it in the pocket. Just to
That is- yes,
confirm, just to make sure everything's
Yes, that is the intent with it, yes.
It goes all the way to the patron.
It should. Trust. Should.
Okay, anything else on this?
Good question.
No.
Okay, well, you hit that pretty quick.
Cameron, Vice Mayor. Just on Haymarket Day itself, we're still going full bore, as if it's a thing decided. Is there anything that we would have to check in at some point? That would be, I guess, if COVID changes, or we're still monitoring that, or?
That's what I was gonna say, at this point, it would be a natural disaster or a state or federal mandate that, we've kind of passed the point of no return, to be honest. And I think since it is an outdoor event, Emily's done a really good job trying to keep the space, we're not trying to get as many vendors to just try and get as much money as humanly possible, so we're trying to, add some space where we can. And like I said, it's barring a hurricane or natural disaster or state or federal mandates that restrict us from doing it, I don't see us. I mean, of course, this is the will of council, but I don't see any reason to recommend we cancel it at this point in time.
If it does get mandated, it does get canceled, do we have like a notice to the vendors that that's
We'll
not
take a hit.
fundable, or they're at their own risk by?
So I would have to verify with Martin how the language is if we have to cancel the event,
Okay.
because I do know that we had specific COVID language in there.
Okay.
But I think if we had to cancel the overall event, then them paying for vendor space they're not able to utilize, I think there would, certain things would come into
We gotta
play, but we
refund it,
thought
yeah.
that through.
Okay, thank you.
I just don't know the exact processes
Okay,
right
thank you.
now.
Now, I know Emily won't be around, but is there any way we could get a peek into the numbers at the next meeting? Sense
So-
of like how many vendors we're going to have and,
Last I know, we had about 135 vendors. That's when we did the Facebook post indicating we were looking for the last couple vendors. And since we did that, I think we're pretty close to 150, because that's what Emily's goal was, to hit 150 vendors. And since that post, we have gotten a couple more. So when the admin assistant gets here tomorrow and she finalizes the applications that we've gotten, I think we'll be right around 150, and we're stopping receiving applications this Friday. So once we receive this, that's it. There's no more.
How about, like, parade participants?
I don't have that total number, but it wasn't substantially high. I believe it was high 20s, low 30s at the beginning of the week last week, and we did get a couple applications, so I'll have to ask tomorrow what the actual number is. I'll send council an email how many parade participants we've got tomorrow.
Okay.
We probably could get some kind of numbers because though Emily is not here, Emily Huffman has been assisting myself and Emily, so she should be able to give us that information as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we got the discussion on the town projects. This kind of rolls into the Vasco stuff. I waited, and I didn't bring that up for you, Roberto, but what services from Vasco do you see relying on or needing to help support your function or your role as treasurer? Because I know they sit there and say, well, they got this consulting clause, which I think was like $165 an hour for their top guy and $120, I think, for the bottom guy. Yeah, 115. So, you know, what benefit do you see if we do go through with this assessment? And because they said some of the lower level questions, of course, are free, right? So, just
So, so in my opinion, and I've shared this with our finance liaisons, I think the main thing about getting this agreement is to get a status on where the town is positioned, best to do, you know, with the financials. As far as when it comes to the questions, I do have my resources with Mary Earhart and our auditor, who at times can't answer specific questions, but I am able to ask, and he can kind of guide me in the direction. But I do have an accountant that we have the budget for already set that if I need that additional backup, she is there as a resource. But as far as this agreement, I think it would just be a great position mainly for the town to find where it sits and what it can do versus the last report from 2016. If that's what you're asking on the agreement.
yeah. Do you foresee needing to use the extra agreement options in here, such as the hourly rates or whatever?
I'm sorry. Are you asking beyond the benchmark, the credit benchmark report?
Yeah,
I mean,
I just
can-
want to understand if we end up utilizing them, how we could use them in the future and what opportunities this opens up for you.
You know, no, Steve, I do see him every year at the town, you know, the conferences, we do talk. Unless, it's a good question, I can think about it, and I can come back to y'all
You could,
next
that'd be
week. Yeah,
good.
yeah, I can think about it and really look into him and maybe have a discussion with him as to what he foresees, what the offers is, you know, what he would offer when it comes to that specific.
Yeah, because I'm still a little skeptical on the cost just to come up with how much we're going to be rated for a loan or a bond or whatever, even or to have to spend this to use them as our bond agent or whatever you want to call them. So, you know, I'm kind of skeptical on, I just don't see the bang for the buck right now, and I need to be convinced. So I need you to open up what opportunities this gives you to help your job and benefit the town. And
Understood.
Can I be candid, sir?
Mm-hmm.
So I went through and spent some time going through this VML vehicle financial report from 2016, and I could not find one benefit of it to the town. I'm just being honest. Population growth, it has changed. But we don't even know the population growth right now because it's still being adjusted. the median household income, that's public knowledge. Per capita personal income, public knowledge. Taxable assessed value, that's something that we can find out ourselves. The poverty rate, we can find out ourselves. Unemployment, that's public knowledge. General funds revenues, we have a treasurer. General funds revenue sources, we have a treasurer. Major general fund expenditures. Operating surplus. Non-restricted general fund balance. Non-restricted general fund balance as of the percentage of general fund revenues, net bond outstanding, current assessment, key strength, possible concern. Anyone can put anything on paper. I was not impressed with this 2016 report, sir. And the recommendation to fund the CIP, that is something that we decide what we look at, and with the help of the town manager, the town treasurer, we look to see where we can get the money from. We did the exercise a few weeks ago and realized, hey, this is a project that we can fund, and we did it without this report. So in looking at this report, all I can say about it is it looks pretty.
Hence my skepticism.
I don't see the point in $8,500, even if we do get the $2,500 break, to spend $6,000 on a report that our staff can provide. And I'm telling you, I took a stab at it to even just do the research to see where I could find some of the general information. You can't do this and do some portions of this without the Census Bureau. And the Census Bureau numbers are not even in as yet, because there's a discrepancy as far as how many people have moved out. Is it the real number compared to how many people are really in the town? So I'm just another voice to say this doesn't make sense or beneficial to us.
Bob?
I was going to say all of that in about 10% of the time. It comes down to this. A lot of this data is census-generated data, which isn't completed yet. A lot of it is just other stuff that we collate as a matter of fact. Yes, it makes it nice and pretty. Yes, it gives some validity to and it does have some value if you're seeking a loan. But I would suggest this: one, the time's not ripe right now for us to engage in this. It has very limited value presently. A year from now, if we start seeking bonds or loans, then I suspect the exercise would probably be of some value. But until we get to the point where, A, all of the data points have been published and are available, because that's exactly where they're going to go to get this, is from the census figures. They're going to drop it down out of the census chart for Haymarket, and then repopulate a couple of other areas with county data and our data. I don't see the use in pursuing this year. In fact, I would suggest that there's no objection. We just remove this from the agenda entirely and not even bother with it.
I'm totally fine with that.
Next Monday.
Okay, let's do a quick straw man
Hold
consensus.
on, I have a question.
Okay.
So, Roberta, is clear, you and Chris have looked at this, and you feel it's of a benefit, correct? This would assist us in, I would assume you would not have brought to this if it was not seen as some value.
I mean, so when we discussed this, this was solely for providing financing options for the different town projects we've got. And just like Councilman Weir just stated, that at this point in time, if we're planning to move forward with the sidewalk, I have no issue with pulling this until which time council needs to look for financing or bonding to move forward.
When we need the $2 million for the parking lot improvement, then that's when this would come into play. Joe, you got
Wanted
something?
their feedback on it, thanks.
I raised the question at our last discussion, I think it was last Monday. When was that? Anyway, about the value of doing the credit benchmark report, because frankly, I think it's just a plug-and-play kind of a thing, and you're just updating the information, right? So I see that as rather costly to get that kind of information. I think they can do it a lot cheaper. I see a value in the future, however, as them being a municipal advisor to kind of help us, because they're plugged into the system, and they understand the system really well. and where the pros and cons of the different kinds of investment vehicles. We're not doing commercial paper, people. That's not going to happen. Those are short-term loans that corporations use. That's not going to happen. But they understand all the different vehicles that are available. And it seems to me, if we decide to go forward, perhaps that's what we'll use them for. So I concur with with others that have stated now is not the time really to do that. And the thing is, we can always pick this up and maybe revamp it later. But there is a value for them being a municipal advisor for us in the future. So that's where I stand.
Everyone good? So I'd like a quick roundtable consensus on whether we want to pull this from the agenda next week and just not make a decision.
Defer.
Defer.
Except for the word defer.
Throw it away.
Okay, we'll defer this for next year maybe, or when we start to look at, I guess, the need for the finances.
For the record, Bob took the same amount of time that I took.
But with fewer words.
Okay, we're with the part-time job descriptions.
This is the feedback that I got from council. Councilman Weir and Councilman Morris had indicated some stuff for the maintenance worker as well as for the community relations coordinator. You can see that I had added in there talking about a bachelor's degree or equivalent experience, which was requested the last time council discussed this. So I am ready to answer any questions.
Now, the maintenance position, that's pretty much just an expansion of who we have now to go, who's handling the trash removal from the parks and
Correct.
Common space, right?
So what this is and I changed some language to make sure that council is aware. This is minor repairs. So this is Matt, who's collecting the trash right now, but then it's also to include minor repairs. For example, if somebody reports a single brick or two bricks that are loose, it's, minor repairs like that. It's not doing, 20 linear feet of the entire sidewalk or anything like that. It's just small and minor repairs that come up day to day, changing out. Actually, the light right above you, Mayor, was significantly broken. So just being able to replace those and changing out light bulbs and stuff that right now staff doesn't have a vehicle to accomplish that unless me, Roberto, Emily, or Kim stop what we're doing to come and change lights and stuff like that. So this is minor repair and maintenance of the town buildings.
Yeah, I foresee this requiring some tools. Have you done any type of projection of what the added expenses are required to facilitate him to do this stuff?
That's something that's going to be dictated based on the types of tools, because if it's a big ticket item, for example, we do have the ability to go to Sunbelt to rent some of the bigger equipment. When it comes to purchasing some like smaller toolkits, general, screwdriver, hammers, wrench, ratchets, stuff like that, there are different options that we can get for a couple $100s that should be able to accomplish the majority, if not all the tasks that would be required to maintain town buildings. So I have looked at something like that, and we're looking anywhere between $400 to $600 for kind of the basic generic tools. But of course, this is going to be dictated based on the roles and responsibilities the council wants to dictate.
Great, and you have, we do have space around here to store this, safeguard this stuff in a storage area or somewhere?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mary?
Yes, so kind of piggybacking off of that, I do want to call out that there is an immediate need for our maintenance person, even just picking up trash, to have a town designated vehicle to do so. My personal belief is that someone should not be using their personal vehicle, especially if it's not a pickup truck, to transport hot garbage and potential leakage of said hot garbage in their car. I don't think a part-timer is paid ample
funds to do that and deal with that. So I would also like to, if it pleases you, Mayor, to have Chris go ahead and price out some options for us to evaluate, because I would like to get that taken care of as soon as possible. I certainly don't want our maintenance worker having hot garbage in his personal car.
Yeah, well, I think we got this black car back here,
I can cut the roof off and make it into a pickup.
Bob, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I mean, this is better than it was, but I've still got some issues. I don't know that we want to have anything in the description referencing things like the asphalt roadways. I don't want to step on VDOT's toes. I'm kind of a little concerned about the concrete curbs. Storm drain structures, I've got a liability and a question, if we start clearing one storm drain, what is that? Where does that take us down the road in case somebody else wants something else done? What's the cost of a power washer, all the other equipment, mowers? How are we going to maintain them? Who's going to be responsible? What's the capital cost? I think we're going to need to work on this a little bit more. I'm not ready to go on it yet. And yes, the vehicle question is a big one. Are we talking a pickup truck? Are we talking a utility vehicle? Are we talking a gator or golf cart? What? But yeah, we're going to need. I want to see some more cost projections, not only on the. Well, I mean, we know what the hourly rate's going to be, but what is the capital expenditure going to be to start the program up?
If I may, some of the stuff about clearing like the asphalt, that would be if there's debris in the roadway, them being able to pick it up. So instead of waiting for the police department or somebody else, it's just something they can clear that. They're not going to be going out there and patching asphalt.
Then we need to phrase it like that, because that's not the way it's phrased.
Right.
And, I don't want to set an expectation that's too high or one that's going to cause us a problem.
Yeah, and you may be able to just generalize it and say, and other added,
Cleanup.
Yeah, I was going to say,
added,
I can
functions
change
that
it.
come about.
Yeah, because right now it just, the minor repairs and maintains, so I'll just change that into 2 separate bullet points then, if that is more.
I would
advantageous.
separate the roadways, curbs, and gutters from the town-owned sidewalks, signage, and streetlights.
It could be so simple just to say cleans. Minor repairs, maintains, cleans.
I'm gonna hit Joe up, and then I'll get to you, Marchant. Okay, Joe?
All right, just conceptually, I mean, what I've heard so far is good, and I agree with it on the equipment and all the other stuff. So this is really like a Thomas plus, right? Mm-hmm. And Thomas really just handled the garbage, basically, and cleaned up the roadways and even if that, the sidewalks and what have you, essentially. Right?
Correct. It was the public cans, and if there's stuff generally near them, he'd also pick that up.
I don't know if Roberta wanted to say anything there. No?
No, I mean, Thomas was great. He did the cans. Obviously, when COVID hit, we moved from having him inside, and we got another cleaning crew to come in here and do the cleaning interior-wise. As far as picking up, it was minimal, like Chris stated. It was if it's around the surrounding area, he would. But yeah, this is definitely a lot more than what Thomas would have done.
Okay. So, yeah, and that's my question. So what exactly is this? Is this a Thomas that does a handyman, the small kind of repair work? And does this displace any other contractors that we may have on board?
So,
I mean, is he going to be doing maintenance of any of the mechanicals, or are we going to have contractors doing that?
So anything that would dictate a permit or something like that, that would be a contractor. This is, like you said, this is more of a handyman, the minor repairs. Like I said earlier, this is changing lights. This is if a toilet is running, to figure out if it, like, why is it running? And then if a plumber's needed, then, that's where, hey, I can't fix this, we need to call a plumber. So it's just the minor repair stuff. It's not anything. This is not, we're not expecting a general contractor to be our maintenance person to do all the stuff.
All right, so is any of it preventative, or is it just reactive?
A lot of it is going to be preventative. and then you
So
will
who-
have certain reactive.
And who develops the schedule for the work? Who's gonna develop that and supervise that work?
Well,
Is he
so-
gonna do that, is that self?
So right now, we need to address, we did the building permits, or not the building permits, but the building inspections for all the different properties, and there are a lot of low-hanging fruit that needed to be addressed first and foremost.
So he's charged with kind of doing that assessment?
Yeah, exactly. Getting that stuff squared away, the, missing shingles off like the well house, or different, things, issues with the garage and park building. I mean, we've got, we've got a substantial amount of buildings that it's this low-hanging fruit that we need to address first and foremost. And then we also need to develop the plan, like you're saying, what's the preventative maintenance? And as he's going through it, he's actually got a pretty good idea of when we need to start, hey, we need to look at getting stuff for winter, clearing the ice melts and stuff like that. We need to have this done by this time. So I think we got a good applicant that would be able to help develop that plan. But like I said, first and foremost, we need to address the building inspections that we did that had a lot of the low-hanging stuff, that it's just securing loose stone or brick, or that stuff needs to get addressed.
All right, well, I mean, I see a value in that, absolutely. But certainly having a program is going to help that person focus to get what needs to be done. And he's going to do that, or she, or whoever it is, because it's a job description. It doesn't matter who the person is. It's just, this is what they're supposed to do. This is their
Exactly.
performance.
And that's something that once council kind of comes to an understanding of their responsibilities, that'll also help dictate how the plan is going to be implemented. I mean, just put in perspective, one of the easy things that we did for preventative is we got a magnet that has wheels that he walked through the parking lot, and it's actually amazing how much scrap metal is in the parking lot after it rains. And you're talking nails and screws and everything else that are right there where the town police vehicles park, which you're talking pursuit-rated tires and stuff like that. So it's a thing that doesn't take but a couple minutes. That preventative care helps save the town money in the long run. And I mean, that's just one example that we've had over, it hasn't even been a full month yet.
All right.
Around the list.
I have follow-up on the vehicle suggestion, but it's not germane to this discussion right now.
Go ahead.
Tracy Lynn?
So the question was, who is putting the program to get, like, telling them what to do, and then who's overseeing that? So is it the person that is employed that's going to dictate what they do during that day, and then you're going to supervise, make certain it's done? Like, is that how that's going to go, or are they just going to be self-motivated?
No, so we've already come up with certain plans. Like, so for example, first and foremost, it is the trash.
Right.
So the very first thing that Matt does when he gets in is checks all the trash cans, takes all the trash cans out, brings all the trash to the dumpsters and dumps it. Then we do have different lists from time to time that we've developed for the different buildings. So whether it's this building and lights, or the museum and some of the blinds that have gotten
Okay.
messed up through time, or as the list builds, and that's stuff that, different people have told us and we look into. So he does come and report to staff, whether it's me or Emily, to get different things accomplished.
Okay.
But when it comes to actually developing a full plan of, like, we've started one where it's like things that should be done daily, things that should be done weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. We're in the process of kind of developing that, but that also will be dictated based on what council's responsibilities for this position are going to dictate those different tasks.
Okay, thank you.
And so I'm sorry, Bob, is he going to be talking to the tenants then as well?
It has already happened. Just for example, we did have with Cupcake Heaven, they have an issue with their HVAC unit upstairs. So from time to time, the contractor that we paid a couple $100s to come clear out the unit because there's a backup on some condensation, Matt will go up there and help clear it out, so it doesn't take very long. So he'll just ask if he can go clear it out and go up there and knock it out real quick, which ends up saving the town, a couple $100 from saving the HVAC contractor from coming in, and basically it's just a little section that needs to be cleaned out real quick. So that yes, from time to time he has interacted with the tenants, and they just report some issues that they have, which he comes and talks to me about, and then we'll go from there.
What's the current hourly rate we pay our current admin, the projected hourly rate for this position, and the projected hourly rate for the PR person, for lack of a better term?
$15.
$15 an hour. So we've got $30,000 divided by 15 equals, that's $2,000 divided by 3, 666 hours per person, divided by 52, 12 hours a week. 13.
Bob, could you elaborate on what you're calculating? I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused.
Trying to figure out how much money we've got in the budget to handle part-timers
Okay,
and whether we're gonna have to increase that.
okay, thank you.
To do that now, or just you want to wrap up the descriptions?
No, we can,
No, I'm just trying to factor it into this.
So what you're saying, Bob, is right now for this maintenance worker, we're contracting him for 12 hours a week?
I'm just averaging it across the 3 part-time positions that we would have.
Is that enough, Chris?
It's up to council based on the responsibilities, because if this position solely wants to be to collect trash and nothing more, then that's way too much. But if we want to continue some of these minor things, replacing the blinds in the museum or different issues with the brick sidewalks and stuff, I do think once we develop that plan, it's going to continue to build. I don't think it's going to, so I could see 15 hours being a good starting point, but if it's necessary, I also think we could bring it down a little bit, but that's something where we would need to provide the tools so that he can accomplish collecting the trash faster. So, it's kind of where we need to weigh the pros and cons. What's the most important thing?
Cost savings as opposed to calling a contractor out is,
Right.
I mean, it all plays in.
So that's one thing that I do want to mention. I did reach out to our trash contractor as well as Duty Calls, who cleans the poop bags for us, the dog bags, and as well as Premier Landscape when we were in the bind to collect the trash. And none of those contractors gave us a quote for what it would cost to collect the 13 public cans that we've got. There's 10 on Washington Street, and then we've got the additional ones in the town park. So that's something they did not provide us a quote, because I would like to have been able to tell you, well, it would have cost us X amount and paid a company to do it, and this is what we're actually getting instead. But none of them gave us a quote for that.
So, I'm sorry, it's safe to assume then that that is not a service they would provide?
As of
Since
right
they
now,
did not get back to you?
that's my
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was also a condition that for them to pick up, they wanted these trash cans drugged to the curbside, so we'd still have to put an effort out to do it.
Well, Republic did indicate that they would have to change the truck that drives through town, because I guess the one that they use wouldn't be equipped or available to do the same thing, so they'd either have to bring in a different truck for the entire town, or they'd have to bring in a special truck just for this, and it didn't get much farther than that.
Roberto?
Councilman, and just to address the town manager, Chris and I did have these discussions too, where I also presented to him avenues of where we can move money within the budget. One of the avenues definitely would be street cleaning. I would like to keep 1,500 there, just because there are some potential street cleaning we do for Haymarket Day, and then a spring cleaning where we actually get a contractor that comes out here and sweeps. That's something we wouldn't expect a part-timer to do. But there is $5,000 from there that we can move to the part-time position. There's also, with him doing this preventative maintenance work, we could probably lessen the maintenance repair service, and try to move there. So there are avenues that we have within the budget right now. Not to say that we couldn't, use more, but there are some avenues that Chris and I discussed when he brought up this idea.
The reason I ask is we're less than 2 months.
Right.
Less than 2 months into the budget, and we've already used up almost 21% of that 30 grand.
That's also
So-
with Sam Lewis, Assistant Planning Commission.
I get it, but we're gonna need to put together a fiscal plan to fund this, because I don't think we've got it, I don't think we have the funding in place to do it, so we're gonna need to get a better picture of what the full cost of these two positions are gonna be, so we can move some money around.
Can I make a suggestion? What would it look like if we, instead of looking at filling two part-time positions, we focus on the one that you've already started, which is the maintenance? We dive through and we look at all the different costs that's associated, maybe even look at selling one vehicle to get a truck for the town. Just focus our efforts on this one position right now and build it to make it look good over the next couple of months, and then possibly look at the next one. I feel like it's, instead of trying to do two positions halfway and not doing them properly, maybe it's best to just step back a bit and focus, because I believe from what I'm hearing from council is we're supporting the maintenance person and the growth of that job description. But there is a possibility of $9,000 left in a $30,000 budget that we may not do it properly. So why not take a step back and just do that aspect properly, calculate all the different costs that are associated with it, and still move forward with it, because you already have the blessing that we are moving in that direction. But tighten up certain things as far as the expenses is concerned, and what Councilwoman Ramirez said, it's really beneficial having a town truck.
So, if I may, because that's something along the same lines that staff has been discussing, because with the part-time admin assistant, she has been helping Emily with the events. She does help with the website and uploading different stuff to the website, and she does do the social media stuff. I don't think it's going to be the full position of the community relations coordinator that we kind of were expecting, being that person that goes to the events and checks in with people at the farmers market and stuff like that. But I do think that if we double down and with the admin assistant, maybe get 4 or 5 more hours to really focus on social media, we can accomplish a vast majority of that position, as well as really go all in with the maintenance position.
So if in 2 months we've already spent $21,000, that in another month, that $30,000 is depleted.
20%.
20%.
Yeah.
20%. Okay.
If I may, I agree with you. Maybe we should focus on one, because I can tell you the last position that we were looking for social media, the position that held all in the town, that was about $72,000 to $73,000. That was a full-time position. But for that social, if that's a position you're trying to get, again, with the business liaison and all that, that is a pricier position. So yes, I do agree with you in that sense, to probably focus on one for now, because that will be a little bit more.
Was there a but after that statement?
But I do have, I'm working on the amendments. We do have where council, decides the final decision how they want the amendment to look. But I do have a source of income, of revenue, meals tax mainly, that's around that much for another position if we chose to go that way. But that's something I'll present to y'all, and probably talk with the liaisons as to how they think we should present it to council for the decision and vote. But yeah, I am looking to increase, because currently we have our meals tax at 800,000. Trend-wise, it's going to be, it looks like it's going to be more than that. But I conservatively would probably bring it up to what we ended last year, to 875. So there is going to be additional funds there that the council will want to decide how to spend that, best spend it.
I think the good thing now is that, Chris, you have a directive that you have the support from the council, but to quote a famous or infamous council member, it's like it's not ready for prime time.
Mary was up first. You'll be next.
I totally can support the choosing one job position before the other. I think a great way that us as a council could support that endeavor and to support you guys would be to also participate in things that we would expect the PR or communications person to do. For example, the farmer's market, maybe if one of us comes on the Sunday morning instead of having a staff member there, so it's an entity from the town, we get to go and say hi and smile and shake hands and, help make sure that the bathroom's unlocked and all sorts of things. If we can support staff in that way, that would be one less phone call they get, or.
Staff is not required to be here.
Correct, anymore. You're correct. Yes, but I think that was a goal for the PR person to be present at the farmer's market as an example. And again, this is just a way that we as council that I can think of right now that we could support them in this without utilizing any part-time funding.
Marshawn?
Okay, so the last time we had a community relations coordinator, they managed primarily Haymarket Day, correct? When Denise was here?
So that,
Museum.
yeah, that position would handle the events, but they also were in charge of the business roundtable. They were in charge of joining the TANV meetings, basically representing the town in all these locally town events there.
So the point being, I'd be curious as to, I remember the initial Haymarket Day that I started, the town would shut down or the staff would have to commit the last 2 weeks before Haymarket Day. How much of the town planner, zoning administrator, but also events coordinator, how much of her time is dedicated to that, and does it have an impact on operations? And I would assume that the community relations coordinator could offset some of that demand in that time. So to your point, if we focus on the suggestion that we focus on the maintenance and then continue to get through this Haymarket Day cycle, see if there's a way to quantify the commitment that was made, the time that was necessary, maybe revisit the community relations. I think with that added responsibility, that would probably justify the higher pay. So that would be my thoughts of pushing or separating these two and pushing the community relations down a little bit farther until we can get a better understanding of that. So any thoughts on that?
So I can't, she's not here to speak for it, but seeing as her coworker, Emily has done a phenomenal job on creating a schedule, a timeline on how to make the Haymarket Day, our biggest event, happen, and go without a hitch as much as possible. But yes, I do agree that it would be helpful for her, to have someone to be the lead when it comes to the business roundtables and also some of the meetings that, just to represent the town out there, like TANV. So yes, it's working for now, but yes, I agree, we should look into it.
It's not tell her Marshawn's suggesting we take Haymarket Day away from her. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I realize it takes a lot of her time, and I would I'd probably say under her job description, it probably doesn't say events coordinator. So anyway, thank you for the feedback on it.
And this is also just something to think about. I mean, Bob can tell you, how long have we been working on the zoning text amendment?
8 months, almost 9.
And that has been with a grad student coming and helping for a substantial period during the week for almost 3 months. So now you take that grad student away who went back to school, and now you've got Haymarket Day and Christmas and all these different events going on, and we want to update the comprehensive plan. And we want to, address some of these different ordinances and update all these governing documents that you guys know Emily's going to have a substantial role in updating all these different ordinances and things, because she's really the one that can pinpoint where the issues are arising, whether it's development or building or anything like that. So that's something too where personally, as the manager, I do think that we're going to need to loosen her job description to allow her to really focus on the detail-oriented stuff. So I think you're right. I think we're almost to the tail end of Haymarket Day, so I don't think this position is going to significantly help, even if we got somebody in within 2 weeks. But I want council to know that this is something that we need to keep in the conversation, because we need to loosen that load so she can focus on the planning and zoning and help out with required events.
Okay, who wants to go?
Oh, may I? May I?
Vice takes
So I agree with what Chris has said. I think that to Councilman Ramirez, as much as I'd like to say, yes, we'll volunteer, yes, we'll do that, life gets in the way. And it is very challenging. And I've been in that role and trying Business Roundtable in those aspects of community planning. It is a lot. And that is a lot to ask outside of the job description that she already holds. And so I would be for, I understand that we may need to prioritize one over the other, but I would not be in, let's just focus on one. I would want to be in the conversation of, yes, we need to do that. She carries a lot of things. So that's my opinion.
No, that's a fair opinion. Just thinking about it a little bit, I think there's two things, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think we have to look at the budget, and I think, to your point, I think we're going to have to do an amendment and get some more money in the part-time line item. Because if you do, Bob and I just did the math. He did it first, I did it. I double-checked his math. No, at 15.
My math is creative, so
At 15 hours a week,
For all three positions.
for all three positions, we're talking 35,100.
No, it's,
Wait.
yeah.
At 15 hours a week. A lot of what's here needs to be adjusted. We have to really think about it, and that's called a job analysis. Job analysis leads to the job description. And I think, to Bob's point and other points here, I think we got to really take a look at this. Frankly, I think we can progress both, to be honest with you. I think there is somewhat of a need. What is the level of service they're going to provide is the question, right? What is the level of service that the maintenance person is going to provide, and what's the level of service that PR person? I mean, personally, I think the PR person is very important, whatever you want to call that position, because we've always talked about communication and improving communication in this town. And, with Samantha, I noticed there was a real uptick in the communication side, which was really beneficial. And so I wouldn't want to stray away from that either. So you really got to think about exactly what these jobs are doing, tailor it to what the needs are, and then, make sure we got it funded fully in that part-time line item. I think we can do both, personally, but, I mean, they don't all have to be 15 hours a week or 20 hours a week. We could do a little bit less on one and more on the other. So, my 2.5 cents.
Mary?
Is that adjusted for inflation? Yes.
I just want to go on record, I'm not saying like dismiss the PR thing, I certainly think that that is a huge priority, I agree wholeheartedly. But I definitely agree with Chris's point where, we already have this job being filled and we need to make sure that we support it correctly, because nothing's worse than hiring someone and not supporting them. So that's why, like you said, prioritize, but don't dismiss. I agree wholeheartedly with that, so just for the record.
Okay,
Well,
so
What's the directive we need on this then?
Needs more
I
work.
thought it sounded like Joe was he volunteered to work with Chris and tighten this up.
There you go.
That's what I heard.
I heard that too,
My second?
because it doesn't involve my name.
Hey, before we jump to,
Motion failed on the table.
Is it possible though, Joe?
It sure is.
Yeah, I can help you out with that.
Is it possible to help?
The liaisons on the finance side will certainly work with the staff.
since it is a budget issue, it sounds appropriate. We'll expand your guys' title to.
Because, Mr. Mayor, the bottom line is what Chris, the money that Chris is thinking of, the council is saying that's too low. That's basically what we're saying, is that we need to find monies in other areas to boost that 30 up higher. Because
We need to
just from,
find some, we need to find some efficiencies created by the new positions that will pay for it.
Right.
I think we can do that.
so I think it's supporting your position, Chris, more, but it's saying 30,000 is not enough to make this efficient.
And that's correct. That is something that, while we were discussing the job description, it's now morphed into the dollars and cents. That is something where some of you have already talked about, when we had the contractor just come and change the filters in the buildings, it was $2,300, where if we had Matt do it, it would be $150 if you pay for the filters plus, a couple hours of time. So those are the changes that I do think that we should expect to see.
And those are small issues, Chris, that you need to itemize the saving side of it.
And that, I've been trying to keep track of little things like that, just like how much going up and clearing that one hose for Cupcake Heaven and things like that. So I've been trying to make sure when there's, if we've paid a contractor to do it and Matt is able to do it, you know, that's a check mark in kind of the maintenance position's favor.
Yeah, it's called avoided cost, right?
I think an interesting thing that you should also research and provide feedback to us for, if it's all right with you, Mayor, is contact our insurance agency and see what exactly we are covered for, and if this maintenance job with the description, what, if any, additional liability insurance we may accrue, what kind of OSHA training we need to provide, et cetera, all those types of workplace safety things.
And they also provide that training, so yeah, that's what, whenever we come, and that was one thing, thank you for reminding me, that when council does kind of come up with a consensus on what the job description wants to be, what they're taking care of, what they're not, then that's where I did plan to send it to Versa for them. We've got HR consulting that they will review it and kind of give us a, you may want to change this or change that. And with them being our insurance company, I think, like you said, that's a valuable asset for us to be able to send it to them instead of Martin, so they'll do it for free.
Thank you.
Two things. One, just add the description, other duties assigned, and I think we should be good on that one. But on the vehicle side, I'm not sure this is the appropriate place to do, but I talked to Mary about this earlier today. I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit. That's okay. Is that I do see the utility right now, I believe, anytime the police has to move barricades or other types of things, they use their personal vehicle sometimes. Lonnie uses his vehicle. Lonnie, I think, uses his vehicle sometimes, and then just the amount of things that we have to move, I see the utility in some sort of truck vehicle, not just for this maintenance person, but for us to be able to perform other tasks within the town. So whether it's from a surplus.
Do they have trailers on the police vehicles?
If they have what?
Hitches? Trailer hitches?
They do, but I think there's some utility in having a non-police vehicle that can do some of these tasks. So, what's that? Oh, I'm just saying there's surplus, so it does not have to be a Cadillac, just something that's basic, can tow, has the ability to get the job
Doesn't even have to
done.
be pretty.
Doesn't even have to be pretty, but I think but reliable. Lonnie, I know, does with his fleet stuff. I'm sure he would be helpful in finding a good vehicle, something that's reliable, but that would be open to all the town employees, not just the maintenance tasks. So I think there's an added benefit to considering that, so.
And none of you get to put bumper stickers on it
Bumper stickers.
when you run for reelection.
Do I look like David to you?
Cold, dead hands. Okay, I think we've done that. You got direction there, right, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we don't need this on the agenda for Monday or Tuesday?
I don't think so. I mean, because we'll have to get together and work on the job description.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of back office stuff required, especially with you looking at the budget and, you know.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
If
we're
we
not
finally
gonna-
come up with
we're not
a
gonna
good
get that
enough
finished by
functional
Monday.
description to go with Vasco, or not Vasco,
VML Vaco.
Versa.
Vaco.
Versa.
Vaco.
No, it's Virginia
Ver-
Risk Sharing Association.
Yeah, Versa.
That's our insurance company now.
Oh, okay.
Mary's suggestion about the vehicle, how do we advance that? In tandem with or separately?
The question is, what do you want? Do you want
Yeah.
do you want a utility vehicle? Do you want a gator? Do you want a golf cart?
And that's what we need to determine is what effort we want this job position to
Well,
hold.
what's the need?
What's the
I mean,
need?
That's really the first
Need is a
question.
pickup truck.
No. What is the pickup truck going to do? What are the needs for the pickup truck?
The needs
What
for
kind
it
of
is to
projects?
remove trash from the 13 trash cans that we have and take them to
And
dump
there's a
it.
lot of ways you can do that. You
True.
don't need a pickup truck to do that.
That
You could do a gator with a
Get an
little
$800
trailer.
That is true.
gator as opposed
That-
to
that is-
$19,000
Utility trailer up there.
Gator
Have
running
one in the
down
garage.
Main Street, but
It's true that we have a gator that can only be driven on a 25 mile per hour road, but if the staff ever needs to use that vehicle to go pick up something at Home Depot, we cannot use it.
Yeah.
So are we gonna bind ourselves to keeping it just on a 25 mile per hour town road?
That's the question about the
Or
need. That gets to that.
can we look further to say, hey, this is something that can be beneficial and can be used by town staff should they need to go do additional
And then
things?
the question is, how often is that going to happen?
That's right.
can you get a rental if you need it for that one day or a couple days
you have it
a year?
delivered?
I
Think
mean,
about-
we have to look at all the different
Understood.
aspects of it.
Thomas had a vehicle, had a truck, that's how he transported. I know he had his cart, but he also had a truck that
His
he hauled
personal
trash
vehicle,
with.
yes.
Yeah, so do we want to continue to have personal vehicles to do these tasks? But we can, Mary and I, we can talk about utility, I've worked with staff to put together this is what opportunities exist with that, and what
I
is,
mean, I'm happy to look
It's gonna
into
come down to job
options.
description too, but
I'm happy to help look into options, and then we can present it to the finance committee as to the range and see if that's possible and what might be out, and then we can present it to council. I don't know how that,
bring us an electric truck.
but to your point,
Do we have a
Joe
trailer?
is the need, we just need to work
up in
on
the garage.
establishing the need, so.
okay.
Hauling
So,
barriers, hauling all their stuff, we can help with the need. We can help identify the need.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And that'll drive what you buy.
Yeah, it means we can take it out of the PD budget, right?
Huh?
I knew that'd get a reaction out of him.
Okay, let's move on. It's starting to get late here.
Oh, really?
Economic development contract. I think it's got numbers, figures in it. Has anybody looked at that? Have any questions?
That was vetted already, yes?
So this was the, basically,
This is
they
the
amended the original contract, so I'll make sure, like I said, my recommendation for Monday is that this goes through final approval from Martin, because if they did amend the previous contract, so I just want to make sure they didn't change something in it to substantially change it, so that's why I just suggested that pending final approval from the town attorney.
So how much
I don't
is
see any
that?
issue with it, but I don't want to speak out of turn when Martin may see
12,000 out of 32.
some issue with that performance section.
Are you saying that you'll get that before the meeting?
What's the budget?
I can send it to Martin if council would like. I just didn't want to send it to him without council's express directive.
I thought that was the whole point of getting Martin stamp it first before, because I think most council has agreed that this is the direction that we're going,
Yeah,
but
what
the
is
town
this?
attorney,
Yeah, but we needed scope.
Okay, so that's already
You know, they did, I think, put ARP in here as opposed to just the CARES Act, so we needed scope on what they planned on doing with that, right?
Correct, that's
Before we
what,
could
so
really go through it.
when I left council last, it was to amend the previous contract with them, and that's what's before you today, is the amended contract. I didn't have
27.
council saying amend the contract and get approval from the town attorney.
so we amended it to include both.
Yeah, so if you go down on page of the contract, it's packet page 55 or page 4 where it's performance. That's the section that was added, and then below that, you'll see the work carried out by the contractor shall address the following. And then there's the different bullet points and the goals in there as well. So that's the stuff that has been added. So the majority of the contract stayed the same from the original CARES Act, but this is the part, the performance and the goals that substantially changed.
Right. All the rest is boilerplate, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Chris, can I ask him a couple questions? Are you
No, I'm
good?
done, I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're talking about using CARES Act funding for this 12,000, right?
Up until December, yes.
Well, I
And
was
then
going
for
to
the
ask you,
additional stuff.
Here's the question. So if that's the case, and we're only going to be using a few thousand of the CARES Act money,
That's for the $1,000 retainer, yes, sir.
so can't we encumber the money and have it dedicated for that in advance?
No, you can't.
Ca-
It's gotta
CARES
be-
Act, it's a
It's got to
cutoff.
be expended by.
Yep.
So
CARES,
then-
it's the cutoff by December.
Is there a way we could restructure the contract in such a way so that we can use all CARES Act money?
Pay it up front.
Yeah.
Well, so yes, we could do that, but as well, as they mentioned, the retainer is for the simple goals, so if there's anything in addition that we would like, so whether it's advertising or bringing in different individuals to come speak with businesses or experts or things like that, we can accomplish that.
I think what Joe and I are saying is we front load the 12,000 base contract fee.
Right.
And we can absolutely do
The
that.
rest of, what is that, 22 grand? Is that what we have? How much do we have left for
We have
CARES Act?
66,000 left right now. We have 22 budgeted, right? What's the 22 for? Do you remember? You've got a line item for that, right?
Yeah,
Yes, 20.
But it's not expended yet.
No.
Yeah, I'd rather, if we're gonna use this for CARES Act assistance, I think we need to budget it with CARES Act money, and if the only way to do it
Front loader.
is to front load it so that we can use the money and expend it prior to December 31, I think that's the only way it makes sense. Otherwise, we're paying to administer CARES Act
With our own money.
with our own money, which seems a little counterintuitive, seems a lot counterintuitive to me.
So I just want to make sure council has read the goals. This is really to help establish an economic development push so that we can try and assess the town business needs, identify if there's anything that is, low-hanging fruit that we can help accomplish and assist the businesses with. This isn't solely to spend CARES Act money
Right.
in ways that benefit businesses. So
We
it's.
want- But we want to be able to use the CARES Act money
And,
to fund it.
and Roberto and I
Essentially.
are looking at different options. As we mentioned before, really the reason we weren't spending any CARES Act is because we were in the midst of this audit that we just finalized. So we're actually looking at, like, the installation of that ADA window may be a viable option that we can use some of the CARES Act money for. So this isn't the solely, we're giving these individuals the full
But this
CARES
is,
Act.
but this is targeted at the businesses, and quite frankly,
You can make the argument.
you could make the argument they don't need us because they sure as hell didn't come to us. I mean, we made all sorts of efforts at outreach for grants and loans and assistance, and quite frankly, they told us, well, thank you, but we don't need it. So if the intent is to do this as a business development program, but it's principally aimed, well, by the very nature of the contract and by the very nature of what it's termed, it's tied principally to CARES Act, and I would guess in some respect further down the road, ARPA money.
Next question.
Yeah, which it doesn't say in here, but I suspect that will eventually be the source of funding for some of these initiatives. I'd rather take advantage, because this is a one-time contract, I'd rather take advantage of the one-time available funds that we've got that we're having trouble disposing of.
Can it be done?
I mean, it's a legal question from Martin. I don't see why we couldn't pay it up front.
We need to clarify that because you definitely don't want to enter into the contract and find out
You
that
give them a $12,000 retainer, or, yeah, you give them a $12,000 retainer.
So we already have funds budgeted with
I think we can
town
make it work.
operating costs as well, even if we couldn't use the CARES Act. Because this is something that, Vice Mayor can attest to this as well. This is, the economic development to help invest in the businesses to see how we can best assist them.
I understand.
And what we're
everything
talking about is how to best use the town's money.
Yeah, and everything is working good because this economic development person is coming in right at the same time, working with this in tandem as they do their, it will actually work good because it will give them time to do their research. That by the time this economic development person comes on stream, all of that information and background work is already done. But we need to make sure that we can pay it up front.
Yeah.
It's a legal aspect of it.
We want to your point, I think, we want to continue the momentum.
Yes.
Because we have momentum right now. Things are going well. We want to keep the pressure, keep that on, and keep it moving forward. I think this is something we can talk about on Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday. If it's okay with the rest of you all, we'll talk some more about it on Thursday.
And you guys talk without even telling us you're talking.
Yeah, no.
We're asking
But-
permission for now.
But this is check signing day. We'll go in, we'll talk about it, and we'll come back on Tuesday.
I think it's great. It's a great idea.
I mean, otherwise, there's a
But-
potential we just leave money on the table that I'd
I'm
rather
worried.
not.
So my question is, what prevents us from signing off on this?
We're just going to double check.
Crossing the Ts and Is with Martin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And knowing where the funds are coming from specifically.
Yeah, where the funding mechanism's gonna be.
Yeah, definitely.
And Chris, you guys have done a good job in doing the vetting and putting this together. This is at the right time, and it's gearing up, especially what the Vice Mayor and Emily has been working on. This is golden, man. You guys did a good job.
Roberto, what do you think?
He's not pushing back on us.
No, he's not. Okay.
Okay, losing faith in him.
No, I mean,
Okay, so we're done with that topic. We'll move on to the VDOT sidewalk grant.
No, I like the way you did
What
that.
are the changes?
Yes, so in the previous one, I tried to add track changes in here, but for whatever reason, it didn't convert. So if you look at the first whereas, we had originally said for submission and application for participation in the VDOT TA program,
Right.
and they asked that it specifically says traffic alternative program. And then,
Transportation or traffic?
transportation alternative, I'm sorry, my apologies. And then if you go down to the third whereas, it had the fiscal year 2023-24, and they requested it say transportation alternative there, transportation alternative program there as well. We originally had revenue sharing program, so they just asked that, basically they clarified that transportation alternative program. And then the only other comment they had was that they had said most localities do a range, so they said, from like 150 to 175,000. And I indicated that this town council's would like to move forward with the design and potentially, getting some engineering done. So they understand that, or you guys understand that wouldn't be any reimbursable funds. So we're just hoping that this coincides with the construction so we can get some type of grant funding. And they understood, and that's my meeting with Katie tomorrow. We've got a very high-level technical individuals with VDOT are going to talk with Katie and I kind of about the project, utilities that may need to be moved, stormwater, things like that.
Are they gonna tell us when that crosswalk's gonna get replaced, like before Haymarket Day?
I need to touch base with Mr. Burke.
Do we have to re-adopt this because of those changes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would re-adopt it as amended
So that'll be
on Monday.
Tuesday. Yeah,
Tuesday, yes.
Okay, all right.
So, Chris, would you talk about the turn lane at that meeting?
So this is the technical aspects of, VDOT is asking what issues that we, the town, could see arising. So that would come from like right-of-way land acquisition, which we don't have to worry about either of those. If there's any stormwater utility issues. So it's a more technical, it's not what we want to see there, it's just the technical aspects of it. So if the opportunity arises, I'll absolutely ask, but to my knowledge, it's more like if we have to move manhole covers or stormwater grates, that level, because they want to check their boxes to see how difficult the program, or the project's going to be. So,
And one question that kind of goes with the crosswalks and all that, and you just mentioned it, manhole covers. Are we responsible to raise those manhole covers so I'm not bouncing every time I try to
why are
cross
we responsible for
Jefferson
that?
Street?
Prince William County Service Authority, we're responsible for the cost, I
But,
think. I'm pretty sure.
so,
well, it depends on, to my knowledge, it depends on who the manhole cover is, because you have some that service authority, and then you have some, well, maybe here you might not have other
The
organizations.
stormwater ones are the county's responsibility.
Do you guys have any utility or anything like that?
We got hung out to dry on them having to raise that Service Authority one when they did the crossing, or the
Well,
stormwater.
Okay.
All I know is I hate that one by the bank building. I hit that every time going straight, whether I want to turn, and it's a pain in the butt when you're turning and you're
Right on the other
bouncing
side of the
away.
road. Pretend your English for,
is that
15 feet.
fall on VDOT and the project manager that we had working on that? We
I
can
would've
probably
thought
bring it,
so,
we
but
could
I-
probably bring it up when Emily's here, because it does seem like they work backwards. So those things should have been taken out and raised, even before they paved the
Yeah,
road.
as I recall, they actually paved and left it down like 4 inches, then they had to come in and add remember they had to put the extension rings in, and
Yes.
we ended up having to pay for it for some ungodly reason that I don't really understand to this day.
So maybe, Chris, just make a note of it, and maybe Emily could do some research on it for us and get back, because there's 3 in the town.
There's a couple.
There's 3, right?
Well, I was going to say,
Because there's one by Giuseppe's, and then there's one by Hunting Path.
I was going to say, I'll have to drive it and because there's a couple that, I remember we talked about it when we walked with VDOT, when we pointed it out after the paving. So I don't recall right offhand what their response was.
And is there a follow-up to that walk that you did, because they still have things that they have to do, right?
So that's where I need to reach out to Mr. Burke about the crosswalks.
Right, because we do need to follow up with them, because that should still be under warranty for them to come back and do
Fixed
it
a
properly.
couple of the little things,
Yeah,
but quite frankly, the supervisor I was not thrilled with. I think.
Yeah,
I
just
suspect
let's
that's
make
why
a
we're
note of
here.
it, Chris, so we can talk about it at another meeting.
Yeah.
But it is a concern.
They had indicated that the crosswalk was going to be done August to September, but they indicated it had been early September, so I feel like we should have seen them
No, I
some
thought they
kind of
said they were gonna-
mobilizing.
I thought it was they were going to finish the roundabout in August or September, and they were somehow pushing the crosswalk back to as late as October. Because I was questioning whether they were going to get that done whether in the building season or not.
Chris,
again.
send them an email so we have a record of it. Okay?
Will do.
Okay, next item,
I deal with them, so.
looking at adjournment.
Huh?
Next item, looking at adjournment.
No.
It's a work session. We don't need to adjourn. We just need to leave.
Ah,
Work session, we're done.
Is that it?
How anticlimactic was that?
I was gonna say.
no adjournment.
That's right, you sent that. All right.
Marcia,